Here's exactly how I made someone £1 million in 31 days and completely sorted his life out. Now, before I actually dive into this, I am not a business coach. I do not want to be a business coach, but most people don't understand that spirituality and the version of you, the identity system that you're operating at, will dictate your success. You see, we get caught up in this physical world. We get caught up in the trap of I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do more. So I'm sitting opposite him on FaceTime and he was in a van. He said to me, he tried to reach out like 10 times, but he just couldn't do it. So I said, what's happened over the last 18 months? He said to me, I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. The Porsche, the Merc, the house that's probably worth about 600 grand is going to be taken. My businesses are going to go. I've got a wife, I've got 2 kids, I've got staff. And over the last 18 months, all I've been doing is throwing money at the problem. Now, you see, this is what happens when we go into a survival fearful state and we don't have the mind to be able to get us out of it. Now, we can dive into the fact of, do I think that everything came to a halt for a reason? 1,000,000%. He has a vision to go further in life and he didn't have the correct character traits that could take him there. So he had to learn it in that 18-month window. So fortunate enough for me, I've been in a position of exactly the same. And I spent 5, 6, 7 hours a day alongside my coaching, studying money, studying spirituality, studying different teachings. So I knew exactly where he was at and what he needed to do to be able to come out the other end of it. Now, he was in £250,000 worth of debt because he was just throwing money at the problems, and he said that he just kept going down a slippery slope. He was in survival mode. He did not know what to do. He's waking up every day, but where he's so stressed, he's numbing himself with the phone, with the technology. So then when it came to actually doing the tasks that he needed to do, his brain was like, no chance. Procrastination, back into the scroll hole. Now, that has a massive impact on his family life. That has a massive impact on how short he is with his kids, how stressed he is. And this is someone that has everything, but when things happen, I think someone didn't pay a massive amount for a job, and that was the start of the slippery slope. So he took out loans, yada, yada, yada. So the first thing I needed to do was I needed to sort his home life out first. I needed to sort out his relationship with his wife and his relationships with his kids. That was on the week 2. Week 1 was just structure, routine, and something that I like to call the future self alter ego. Now, this is where we do a complete life audit as to where he is now, what he's currently struggling with and going through, and from the moment he wakes up until the moment he goes to sleep, what are his actions? How does he think? How does he feel? How does he act? How does he wake up? What does he consume? Every single detail. Then when we create this alter ego, this new identity for a specific framework and system, we have it in detail of the version of him that is currently living in the life where everything is sold and everything is beautiful. So then what happens is the only difference between having the life that he wants and not having the life he wants is just the energetic gap. So what we done was we went into so much detail and we closed the gap energetically. He embodied the future version of him. He started to think that way. He started to feel that way. He started to act differently. He started to listen to his intuition. Now, when I've sorted his family life out, he's been able to leave the house in a nice, safe state. He's feeling loved, he's feeling at peace, and he's let his family know that he's making changes. Because I got him to sit down with a bit of paper and literally go, tell me where I'm good, tell me where I'm bad, tell me where I'm not currently showing up, and what more do you need from me? That was to the wife, and then that was to the kids. So he's then got the blueprint that he can go away and focus on going to war with the world and making sure he can stay in a state rather than leaving the house and worrying about the shaken family life at home, which is completely understandable. You see, we can only bring into fruition what matches us, what we vibrate at, as the world says. And he was going out in such a level of uncertainty, but I needed his nervous system in safety. So when we've sorted his structure out in the morning, when we've sorted out his future identity protocol that he embodied on a daily basis through visualization, through different types of frameworks, he then started to feel good within himself. He then started to relax. He then started to be able to listen to his thoughts because we done the dopamine detox. I gave him a system to be able to drop out everything because obviously that doesn't match the future version of him. And then all of a sudden, within the first week, he got like 30 grand cash flow come in. So that started to show him, wow, this stuff actually works. Because no matter how much we learn, until we actually see it come into fruition, we never truly believe it or have conviction behind it. But where I was in his corner every single day, making sure that he was getting his stuff done, there was no way in this world that he would not get the outcome that he wanted. So then within that first 31 days, he's got a massive amount of cash flow coming in, which was consistent because it was a new job where it'd be like 30 grand a week coming in. That's it, done. Payments gone out, debts being able to be paid, being able to pay his staff back, everything started to go in the right way. Then what we done was we made sure that he didn't go into his default setting. What happens when we go out into the world, our environment will trigger us and try and pull us back into a default setting. So imagine this light here. This light is waking up in the morning, getting into the future self, and then you get triggered. You then go into default setting. This is where you start to go to negative vices, the negative self-talk, the whole world is against me, the victim mindset. Now, when you're in a default setting, the quickest thing that you could possibly do and need to do is get back to baseline. How can you get back to a state of peace, certainty, and clarity as quick as you possibly can? Now, this is where people come unstuck because you're triggered and you need to get down to peace. You can't go from triggered to peace. It's like a dog screaming and shouting, going mental for an hour and then saying shush once. It's not going to happen. So we had to have tools in place in order for him to slowly regulate his nervous system again and bring him back into the peaceful state. That can come from reframing situations. It can come from regulating your nervous system. It can come from self-talk. It can come from anything that works for that individual. Some people might like going for a run. Some people might like dipping their face in cold water. Some people might like taking a breath. Now, every single time that he managed to put himself back into a state of enlightenment, we then took evidence of how many times he was able to overcome going back into that default setting. This is when that voice comes in. He started to name it. He started to say that this is just the old version of me that is in lack. And then what we started to do is we started to create new loops, new neural pathways through his thought process and through the actions that followed it. So then within the first month, he ended up getting £1 million worth of agreed work. So now everything has been sorted in 30 days. But the reason we was able to do that was because we had so much conviction behind him speaking to me, what I gave him, the breakdown, and what to do. He just went to work with the tools and had so much conviction behind what I was telling him. Now, the only difference between something that does work and something that doesn't work is the conviction behind it. This is why you might see manifestation techniques and everyone's got a different one that works. The best technique is the one that you believe in the most. The best content is the one that you have the most amount of conviction behind. The most amount of meetings that go well is the amount of conviction you have behind that. And it's about getting into a flow state and knowing and feeling in your body so much certainty and conviction that this outcome is inevitable and not living in the past. He could have sat there dwelling on everything that had happened, but the moment his brain became clearer, the moment that he allowed to have the creative part of his brain come into fruition, he started to reach out to certain people because his intuition was telling him to. He started to receive information differently, so instead of the bad things that had happened to him, we was able to reframe every situation. Now, why my process is so beautiful is because if they get triggered and they can't regulate themselves, they just reach out to me. I'm a consultant for them throughout the day, put them back into the right headspace, and then we go about our day. You see, in order to bring in the life that you want, you have to become the man that has it. But our biggest problem is we go back into default mode. So we're never actually fully, consistently staying in the headspace of the future version of us. This is why it is so important that you understand that who you are cannot take you to where you need to go. Albert Einstein said the same level of thinking cannot be the same level, no, the same level of thinking cannot be taken to solve the problems that got you there, or something along the lines. Basically, think different for a different outcome. And this all comes down to a new lot of information. And I didn't allow him to listen to any podcasts. I didn't allow him to read any books that I didn't specifically give him. And I said, I do not want you consuming any information outside of our calls at all. And he was like, well, why? And I was like, because I need you to just focus on the goal. The more information you can consume, the more times you think that that is the new answer that comes in, and then you signal separation. Remember, in order to bring into life what you want, you have to get out of survival mode and get into a state of peace. In order to be in a state of peace, you need to stop signaling that you need to learn more in order to be able to grow. Now, my job is to get high performers into a state of peace that may have fallen into a little bit of a rut, which happens. You know, it's hard to deal with life on our own and be able to stay in a peaceful state all the time. But the thing is what people teach is to get the business and to do and achieve. But it's pointless if you're not going to be happy with it. My client wanted to stop being controlled and being a slave to the physical world, 3D that we live in. And this is all that we've done. He's now in a state where he's good without. He doesn't need external events to happen in order for him to feel something. He doesn't need a business contract to feel worthy. He doesn't need to be ripped to shreds to feel worthy. He doesn't need loads of money to feel worthy. You see, when we need all of these things to happen in order for us to feel like we belong in this world and we have a sense of achievement, we are a slave. Our emotion should be, on our worst day, no matter what, we wake up and we are worthy of being in this world. The moment that you can get into a pure state of detachment, which is nothing other than realizing what you do and what you have does not justify who you are, and who you are as a person is enough. Once you start to integrate parts of that, from the childhood that you've suppressed and you've self-abandoned, this is when you start to become whole. This is when you start to see a shift in your world, because you have become someone that can sit there and be good with the phone going off and be good without the phone going off, because then you are purely detached. You are just wholeness. So if we go into the terms of the universe, you can only have what you already have. If you have peace, you'll be sent more situations, environments, and people to reinforce the fact, or to reinforce more peace around you. If you don't need clients all the time and you're stressing about clients all the time, get into a state where it doesn't justify who you are as a person, and then all of a sudden the clients will start to come in. Now, brain might be thinking, well, it's not going to work for me, He had the same thing, but he just had so much certainty and conviction behind what I was teaching. Because you can go to any mentor in the world and they could actually give you the right things, but if you don't have a belief behind you that you can achieve that, then you're already putting a block. Although mentors should always make you feel like you are untouchable and you can achieve anything you set your mind to, so they should be able to reinstate that belief themselves just through the coaching sessions. So I never want to make my videos about finances because it doesn't bring true happiness, although my clients make an incredible amount of wealth, because my job is to just get them into a state of peace. When you're in a state of peace, you become magnetic for everything else. It's about slowing down the thoughts, the overthinking, the stressing, the survival mode, the chaos. It's about really putting that brain into a nice brainwave, a nice peaceful brainwave, and being able to understand that when you are in that state, the self-talk, the future narrative or the future ego that you do embody starts to be imprinted on the subconscious mind, because the analytical mind isn't constantly going crazy. And once you get triggered and you bring yourself down to the default mode, you can then pull yourself back to baseline, and then this is when you're not dipping in and out of consciousness and spiraling and then operating from a place of shame. I hope this video is helpful. I love this stuff. If you are going through anything right now, I just want you to know that I believe in you. You can make it out the other end, no matter what you do, no matter how down and out you are. This video right now, my boy Jake, that has coaching with me and is still a client now long term, has proven that you can go from depressed, stressed, 250k in debt to sorting your life out in just a month. I'm sending you love. I'm sending you light. Melia movement, baby. This is the Melia life. Let's go.